Well, hello again to all of you fine people and who you want to be. My name is Sam and I'd like to welcome you all once again to the newest episode of Weird Mind Newsroom, where for this week, after that strange train tape video that I found last week that I don't recall recording, I have a selection discussion of focus on some new releases, trailers, and a selection of news stories like every week I do. So let's not waste too much time on all this and let's get to talking all things media that we have for another week. So on the first of our new releases for the week is one that's seen maybe more of a bit of a feel-good film that fits in the tone of this time of year and from the creative mind behind one of the longest running television series in history, as James L. Brooks has brought us an all-new film on the focus of change and power with the release of the film known as Ella McKay. Now the film follows the titular character who at the age of 34 becomes the governor of the state that she was born and raised in. However, navigating relationships with her husband, father and brother may be her biggest challenge yet, even when trying to run the country. Now reception of this new film, however, is not the most well received, as while the performances and cast are decently liked, the film feels a little disjointed and all over the place, despite the attempt of trying to be well-intentioned. But I'm sure it may find its audience at some point in time. If you want to check it out for yourself, it is available to check out now in cinemas. But if a feel-good comedy is not for you, and you want more in the realm of what I can only describe as Moida, then thankfully you are in luck, as the fancy man with the southern twang is back for another mystery. As after a 2-week limited cinema release, we have the release of the third whodunit by Ryan Johnson with Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. In a new film, we'll see Benoit Blanc find himself in his darkest case yet, as he finds himself investigating and sifting through a series of suspects when he learns of a Monsignor who turns up dead under mysterious circumstances in his own church. Now, reception on this third film, similar to the first two movies, have seen some very strong reception, with some calling this the best in the series, with praise in the ensemble cast, the story, mystery, cinematography, and humor, and for showing that these are some of the most solid proofs of whodunits, and I hope we see more of these in the future. Now, I did see this 2 weeks ago, actually, in the limited cinema release, and I really enjoyed it then, and I watched it there recently again on Netflix, and I liked it both ways. And if you missed it, check it out in cinemas. You can catch it now to solve this mystery right now on Netflix. The next one does slightly connect in the previous project in the aspect of the MOIDUR, but in the realm of the class and high society, but done in the style of being a little goofy, unserious, and all out stupid in some forms, as you have the new spoof comedy for you to tickle your funny bone this festive season with the release of the new film known as Fackham Hall. In the film, we'll follow a lovable pickpocket known as Eric Noon, who moves into the English manor of Fackham Hall, where he will soon start a forbidden romance with Rose Davenport, and also soon framed for murder, while he soon ends up in a rivalry with a man named Archibald, who soon battles him for the purpose of Rose's hand in marriage. At the same time, rivalries are spiraling over the Davenport family, led by Lord and Lady Davenport, as they also weather the epic failure of the wedding of their eldest daughter to their caddish cousin. Now, reception to this new comedy film seems to be well received, with praise in its humor, spoof focus of Naked Gun or Airplane mixed with Downton Abbey, and cast and performances. And while it may be some mixed opinion on which of the two spoof comedies of this year is the best, I'm sure it'll be well worth a watch and for a bit of a laugh this holiday season. If you want to check it out for yourself, it is available to watch now in cinemas. Now, as we get close to the festive day in mind, the one thing they may be least expecting with all this ordeal and kinship is with death and bloodshed. But in this case, it looks like we are getting something a bit more sinister and a new take on a classic festive horror, as we have the release of a reboot to Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, the story will see Billy become traumatized after witnessing the grisly murders of his parents by the hands of Santa Claus, and will soon spread a lifelong ordeal of holiday fear. Now, every Christmas, he dons a red suit and embarks on a blood-soaked massacre to feed his twisted sense of judgment. Reception on this new reboot is surprisingly well received as well, with praising its focus, kills, and overall aesthetic in bringing fresh life into this now 7-film franchise. If you want to see it for yourself, you can also catch the new film out now in cinemas. Our second show of the week is giving a more fantastical side of things, and everything is about to become crazy and chaotic, unleashed by the gods, where it will soon be down to a young half-god to sort it all out, which is quite a lot for him to manage, as we have the release of the second season of the popular fantasy novel series with Percy Jackson and the Olympians. The new season will be based on the second novel of the series, The Sea of Monsters, be set a year after the events of the first season, with Percy returning back to Camp Half-Blood, finding it out under threat by Kronos' forces, and Grover is now appearing to be missing. It will see Percy go on a quest to the Sea of Monsters to find and contain the Golden Fleece to save the camp. Reception on the second season at the moment is very well received, with praise on its grander scale, its likable characters and performances, and for being well liked and faithful adaptation of the novel so far. If you want to check it out for yourself on this new adventure, you can watch the first 2 episodes now on Disney Plus, with a new episode releasing every Wednesday. The last of the shows in focus, seeing us return to the world of the realm of some video game adaptations, and while we may return to the Wastelands next week, we are instead on a bit more of a globe-trotting adventure with an iconic name and face for some more treasure hunting adventures, as we have the release of the second and presumed final season of Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. Now, the follow-up season will see Lara come into contact with a mysterious ally to a technological utopia, where a brilliant philanthropist could offer her a challenge that could reshape her legacy forever, while also confronting her traumatic past while unraveling the new ancient mystery. Reception of this new season so far has been well received, with a bit more of a mixed outcome of the audience side, with praise in its voice cast and animation, and for connecting the prequel trilogy trilogy of the mainline titles. Now some feel it's a little too low stakes and could have been better, but if you want to see the journey that leads to where the series began, you can see where this all leads now on Netflix. As for one final piece of new releases, the one that has become a bit of a popular series on the interweb since its debut 2 years ago, and the release schedule is all over the place, but hey, who could say no to another new adventure, as we have the release of the latest episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. Now the episode entitled The Beach Episode will be seeing Pomni and the rest of the colourful characters have a bit of a day off from the absurd and crazy adventures of Kane and decide to spend a day at the beach instead, where I'm sure nothing bad will come from this whole ordeal. Like the other episodes, this one has been praised in its voice performances, animation, its dark themes, and for getting people guessing with every episode as it releases. And if you want to check it out for yourself, you can watch the full 7 episodes now on Netflix or YouTube, so either option. And with that regards now, that's all the new releases that we do have for this week. Now for the trailers, and the first of the ones is seeing us having another round of the summer in the film as we experienced earlier this year in the realm of this super summer. As while we saw the return of the symbol of hope, we now turn our attention to the character that got a little introduction in the previous film, and as one that's a bit more rebellious and a party animal, but will step up to prove her worth when the going gets tough. As we have the first official trailer for the second film of the DC Universe timeline with Supergirl. Now the film will follow Kara Zor-El, played by Millie Alcock, who decides to travel across the galaxy with her dog Crypto to celebrate her 23rd birthday. Along the way, she meets a young, roofy Merrick Knoll and encounters a tragedy that will soon lead her to a murderous quest for revenge. So I'll say that I enjoyed the previous Superman film and the small tease of her character in that movie, and while I was a little bit hesitant of her portrayal from the first instance, this seems more of a better idea of her character. I like the case of her being more jokey humor side, given that she was supposed to be the one that was to watch over Clark as a child, but a journey to the Phantom Zone froze her in time on the way to Earth for a bit of aging, and soon seeing her cope with some ordeals like this. As there is talks, this is supposed to be more of a emotional journey, or even the likes of the last Guardians film, so it could be a dramatic one. But overall, I like the look and tease of some of the characters, including a certain Lobo, and I'm excited to see what comes from all this in due time, as the film will be flying its way into cinemas from the 26th of June. Now this next one is more of the focus of something of a bit more of a grounded film and focus, but in this case we see a pair of actors that have appeared in Superhero Affair deal with something that many of us may experience, and that is with the outcome of marriage, as we have the release of the trailer for the new A24 affair known simply as The Drama. Now the plot of this film will be the ideals the days before a planned wedding. A couple, that's played by Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, relationship is shaken when one partner discovers unsettling truths about the other. So this is quite the pairing, as I didn't expect to see, and it seems that Pattinson has been in a lot of recently married relationship movies as of late in these projects. First, recently was Jennifer Lawrence, now it's Zendaya. And this one, many saying MJ left Peter for Batman, but it's an interesting pairing. And I'm getting from the teaser a bit of a marriage story vibe to it all, but I'm sure hoping there's a bit more of this in simple aspect of something really more twisted. But I guess we will find out in due time for it all, and I'll be interested to see the outcome of all this, as you're invited to this wedding with the film release into cinemas from April 3rd next year. And as for our final trailer, the name may feel I'm going against my rule on trailers for not talking on something that is just releasing, but you will be mistaken with this one, as this is actually talking about the kid with the bald head and the elemental powers, and not the Blue Man Group that's a total rip-off of the Smurfs. But rather, it's time we continue the journey of these characters as they continue the journey to save their world against the nation of elemental powers, as we receive the trailer for the second season of the live-action series take on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now the new season will see the follow-on from the bittersweet victory saving the Northern Water Tribe from the invading Fire Nation. I'll see Aang, Katara, and Sokka regroup and set off on a mission to convince the elusive Earth King in aiding their battle against the fearsome Fire Lord Ozai. So I'm not one that has been the biggest of fans of this series, but I've seen a bit to say that I think it's a very great and popular show, and while I know the live-action film was a dud and this new series has been a bit more of a mixed bag in the first season, I can still see some sense of appeal of this and given more of a faithful take on it all. The one thing I have seen is the sudden massive growth spurt of Aang in this series. This was also in the poster, where he was a lot younger looking in the first season. Unless that was filmed years ago, may explain the sudden aging aspect, but I'm sure maybe possibly explained in the show, but it'll be interesting to see how they go about this, as was the case how they tackle Toph, the blind earthbender kind of thing, but I guess we'll see in due time as the new season will be debuting on Netflix sometime in 2026. And with all that regards now, that's all the trailers that we do have for this week.
I'm the king of the wieners!
So the first two stories in focus of the week, we do have something in common, and that is the basis about the focus on award shows, of one with nominations and one being the roundup of the show that just took place. And we'll start with the ones that had the former, as we confirmed this week that about a month out saw the event of the array of selection nominations for the Golden Globes unveiled on Monday morning, which saw quite the array of selection across film and TV. And while I may not go too deep on everything that was shown off at the event, I will use the usual focus on most nominated and maybe give a focus on what is snubs or the nominees for the big awards in general, but we can give an idea when we look into that. So let's dive into the awards and nominations. So starting off in the area of film nominees, it seems like it's a mixed array of number nominees for each film, but in the approach of the most nominated, leading the group with a total of 9 is with One Battle After Another, which includes a nominee for Best Picture in the Comedy Musical category, even though I feel like it fits more as like a drama film, and Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson, as well as a few acting nominations across the 4 acting categories. The runner-up in nominees is with Sentimental Value, a total of 8, which also includes a nominee for Director and Best Picture in Drama. Hitting the top 3 with 7 nominations is Sinners, which includes the Best Film nod for Drama, Lead Performance for Michael B. Jordan, Director for Ryan Coogler, and even for Original Song of I Lied to You. Coming in at 4th with a total of 6 is with Hamlet, as nominated for Best Film for Drama, Lead Roles, and Director, and then rounding out the top 5 is 2 films with 5 nominations each, which is Del Toro's Frankenstein and Wicked for Good, with Frankenstein getting a Best Film for Drama and Director nomination, and then Wicked more in the Actor and Original Song categories, as it missed out on a Best Film nod for musicals. In the basis of other nominations for the Best Film, the only other ones left from Drama was with the likes of It Was Just an Accident and The Secret Agent, and while for musical and comedy is with Bugonia, Marty Supreme, Blue Moon, No Other Choice, and Noville Vague. For one of the categories where Best Film is in the animation field, and this sees a mix of anime, indie, and western films all in the nominations this year, which include K-pop Demon Hunters, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, Elio, Zootopia 2, Arco, and Little Emile or the Character of Rain, which is quite an interesting array of choices, and see that as a tough outcome in this front. Overall, in the likes of the film side, it's not too bad. The only one I feel a bit conflicted on is with the nominations for the new Avatar, given at this point the film is not out yet, but it got an for box office achievement, which given the different trailers being shown and changing about, it's expected in kind of the case that people think it's going to make it 2 billion, and either for Original Song, which I've heard a mixed reaction to, which is from Miley Cyrus, but I'm sure it will make sense by the award show. As for the TV side, it looks like a cleaner focus for the most case, with the top nominated show this year going to The White Lotus with 6 nominations, which includes for TV and Drama. Taking the second most nominated then in shows was with Adolescence, which snagged 5 nominations, which included Best Limited Series, and for Supporting Actor nod for Owen Cooper, who won an Emmy for this show. And in the tie for third with 4 nominations was with Murder Mystery Comedy Only Murders in the Building, and Emmy Dynamite series of Severance. And then in a large tie for 3 nominations came down each to The Bear, The Beast in Me, Black Mirror, Hacks, and Nobody Wants This, and The Studio, all getting a mix of array of choices across the different categories. Now I did see some snubs that were discussed, including the likes of second season Last of Us basically getting overlooked besides one, and as well a personal one for me was with Poker Face getting overlooked, with both getting 1 nomination each for performance, one for Bella Ramsey and one for Natasha Lyonne, and the leads of the show, but I expect it was a strong year for television and streaming shows, so I will take out what I can get. Now, it's hard to say where I would decide as the winner, and I could do a nomination for the Globes video when it gets nearer, but maybe keep it just to the next story in Oscars, but I really don't know. But I guess we'll be back here in about a month's time to see who came out as the big winners on the night. But what do you think of these awards? And which of these shows and films you feel should have been nominated, and what do you see winning each different category? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. As for the second story that I mentioned having a similar theme to another, this comes to us in the form that if you read my last blog, or have watched my video that I released a few days after than expected for reasons that I'm not getting into, besides a mix of trying to sort out files or attachment stuff and then figuring out audio clips. But on Thursday, the 12th annual Game Awards took place, and it was quite an event to sit up and watch into the late hours up until 4 AM, but it had to be done. And in this case, I'll be giving my thoughts and talking the winners, and also give a few projects that interest me from the event, a brief discussion in the show that I'm a little mixed about in some aspects, but let's get into it. So we start the big winners, but I feel overall, if you've seen any news, it was a bit of a sweep by the French, as Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was the big winner of the night, winning 9 of its 13 nominations, which included Game of the Year. And this is where I got a point in watching if it felt fair to do so and winning all of them. Now, don't get me wrong, as the game is fantastic, but I feel it was a very, very strong year for games in general, that I feel if it needed a little bit more of an even out of the event kind of thing, that guards. It was not to say the other games, the year nominations that went away empty-handed, as 3 other titles from the category all at least won 1 nomination, with DK Bonanza winning Best Family Game, Hades 2 winning Best Action Game, and Hollow Knight Silk Song snagging the Action Adventure title, with Kingdom Come Deliverance and Death Stranding both unfortunately walking away with nothing. And also surprised that Kojima got no screen time this much year. Wonder if the bromance is in it, because usually every year he gets about like a 10-minute segment or some of that, or a fair bit of a focus, who knows. Now, it's a case that there's been a lot of other award shows happening at the same time that has seen other games like Dispatch, Hollow Knight, and Silent F all winning some Game of the Year awards, so I see it as a bit of a mixed outcome on this awards event, but I feel hopefully next year's show has another lineup of banger titles and a more fair balance of games and nominations to decide from. But speaking of new games, there's been lots that was shown at this award show, and while I feel the announcements were not as exciting as last year's unveilings, there was a solid few that I will say were promising, and I will try and give a quick explanation of a few that I kind of enjoyed overall, and give a quick explanation as best I can. Now first, I asked the question of, do you recall the statue that you might have seen on your social feeds for the last couple of weeks about that Jeff Keighley's been teasing of a mysterious statue in the desert? Well, that cryptic statue was finally unveiled, as was the answer that it was Larian Studios, the same developers behind Baldur's Gate 3, revealed that they're making a new game in the Divinity series, and the cinematic trailer was quite something and had some gnarly imagery. And while no date or what is expected has been given, it does likely make something special of all this new entry in the future in this regards. Then we got not one, but two new announcements for the world of Star Wars, with the first announcement being an all-new entry in the Old Republic series with Faith of the Old Republic, which was a brief cinematic trailer. I was thinking it was a Mass Effect game at first, but the reveal was pretty cool, and the game is planned to be directed by Casey Hudson, who I think worked on Mass Effect or some other well-acclaimed titles, which has many people excited. Now, to expect this will be another few years away, but maybe we can get that Knights of the Old Republic remake out before the next one drops on, guys. As for the other Star Wars announcement, is going to get fast, dangerous, and proving who's the best, as this is pod racing, as they announced Star Wars Galactic Racer that seems like a follow-up to the classic engines of the series back in the early 90s that were beloved by fans of all those years ago. It seems like it may be well worth a space race to occur, with the title set for release sometime in the new year. Now, it's not the last time we were talking on one of the most new releases of this week, as we were given the announcement of not one, but two entries in the Tomb Raider series, with an all-new tile known as Catalyst, which sees a bit more floating mountains and cities being the focus of this tile, and set the furthest in the timeline of these games, which is set for release in 2027. And in the element of the 30th anniversary for the series, we got the confirmation of Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which is essentially a remake of the original title, with this one set for release next year for the 30th anniversary. Well, at least some studios are going for an anniversary. Looking at you, Ubisoft. Where's Rayman's 30th anniversary? Well, I guess they could do more for classic title franchises, but I'm looking for new adventures soon, so let's look forward to them. There was a return of another popular studio, as Remedy, the studio behind Control, Alan Wake, and Max Payne, came out with an announcement of a sequel to Control with Resonant that will see us take on some twisted and warped versions of Manhattan that look straight out of the scenes of Doctor Strange, and I feel it'll be very cool and very trippy experience like some of the studio's previous titles have shown, and it'll be well worth trying when this journey takes place sometime in 2026. Then after leaking the reveal a few days in advance of the PlayStation Store, we got the new look at Resident Evil Requiem, which confirmed that fan favorite character of Leon Kennedy is set to return in the franchise, and will be the second playable character across the game, and while I'm fine with him back and thinking at his age, I'm surprised he can really still do those high kicks, I do hope some other familiar faces, like me and my friend are holding out hope for Carlos. Please give us some Carlos. And I think I've heard possibly that Rose is coming back as possible story DLC. Will make an appearance, but I'm sure we can see by its release in late February next year. We were given a new look at the long delayed title of Pragmata, the new sci-fi adventure of the spaceman and the little android girl with unique powers that has some appeal and has been officially given a date of release, with it set for April 24th next year, and now also confirmed for release now on Xbox and Switch 2 on the same day as well, so it's worth trying out when it does release on one of those consoles. Then one of the original co-directors of the first Last of Us, of Bruce Straley, with his new studio of Wildflower, unveiled the new project of Coven of the Chickenfoot that will see you play as an old lady and go on some long journey quest with what looks to be some giant sheep creature that looks like it could have some fun, visually stunning scenery and maybe some deep mixed emotions overall. And I'll be interested to play this title when it releases sometime in the near future. We then got a new look at the new title of Sarah's, with a story trailer that gives an idea of the plot and what to expect in this new journey for the characters and the battle against the demons that appear from the disappearance of the sons, and does look cool. It did, however, also come with news that the title has been delayed as well, but not by much, as it was pushed from March 20th to a now release date of April 30th, so an extra month will not hurt too much in that aspect. Then during the event, we got a new look at the upcoming LEGO Batman title of Legacy of the Dark Knight that will see some of the inspirations across the massive title that will span many decades of the Batman, and some of the other playable characters like the Robin variants and Catwoman, just to name a selection. And also the case, we will be given an official release date for the game, with the game set for release on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC on May 29th, with a Switch version coming some point later in the year. I'm going to say probably like a month or two after. Marvel Rivals also unveiled their next hero set to join the growing roster, with everyone's favorite merc with a mouth of Deadpool confirmed for the next edition, will debut on January 16th. Then we got a new look at the title of Phantom Blade Zero, which looks like a really slick and stylish ninja-based title, and it does look really cool. Not going to lie, I was very much impressed with this, and it's a case of thankfully we're given a release date that may be a little bit of time away, but will be set for release on September 9th of next year. The title had more the weird and meta side, as they unveiled a new mixed genre platformer for Bradley the Badger that will see you on some mixed parody tiles and making them into some odd and unique platform tiles that has some appeal. I could be down for a new platforming game itself, with the game to launch some point in 2026. We then got an appearance by J.J. Abrams himself to unveil a new 4-player co-op title of 4 Loop that has a sense of an Edge of Tomorrow focus, where you send to the world destroyed by invaders must find a way to save it before it causes a calamity. Every time you die, you are regenerated to figure out new plans for making it work, which does not sound too bad and may be worth a try when it releases some point soon. We got a new title in the sense of being like a new Yakuza or even Sleeping Dogs, the game of Gang of Dragon that has some unique style and look, and the lead in the form of Don Lee, and it seems like it could be really interesting to see what will come about this title when it releases in the near future. Then the developers behind Soma unveil a spiritual successor with the new game of Ontos that has given the player a trip deep into the subconscious, providing quite a trippy visual journey and be well for a look into when the game releases some point next year. One of the more new indie titles, one of the most appeals, the title of The Free Shepherd, where you play as a sheep herding dog and you'll be exploring a vast countryside on some deep journey while also herding sheep as our job, and it seems like it could be a fun little cozy adventure when the title releases in 2 years time in 2027. Then there was a really cool game showing up known as Audio Mech that will see you battle some monsters or bosses, use the power of your music as both your weapon and the enemy's weapon. As the concept is cool, it sounds like the elements seen with the classic title of Vib Ribbon from the PS1 era. I'm very interested to try this, with a demo available now on Steam and the game releasing probably some point next year. While not given a trailer, it was confirmed during the acceptance speech for South of Midnight's Win that the title will be set for release onto PlayStation and Switch consoles in the spring of next year, which will give me a chance to play as a award winner in due time in that capacity. And in case you may recall, there is a selection that could be seen as a total focus of 4 different video game adaptations coming next year that could have been shown at the event, but this is one that seemed like a very slim chance. But one of the 2 new adaptations shown was the first official look at the upcoming Street Fighter movie, with a look at the characters in motion alongside a cavalcade of posters for every character before they all came on stage to present an award and then throw shade at the Mortal Kombat movie that's also out next year. But besides that, the film looks interesting. Hard to say on the tone yet, but it's a brief teaser, but I guess we'll have to do more of an idea what the film's released in October. And as for the second adaptation shown, it was given a new brief extended look at one of the scenes shown in the first Mario Galaxy trailer, which sees Mario and Luigi fighting against Bowser Jr. in what I assume is Peach's castle. It gets some appealing shots of action and nice animation, and it's like some reference to the possibility of a Smash Bros hit with like Luigi, and it's still the case I'm very excited for this follow-up, and I guess we'll see how it comes about by its release in early April of next year. Then we are getting more appealing new co-op adventures. We got an all-new look at the newest game of Out of Words, with 2 kids without mouths going on a journey across a strange and colourful land full of puzzles and made all in stop motion, and it looks so charming and fantastic. The case I'll be looking forward to trying this title out when it releases some point next year. Then a classic IP is back for a new adventure and all suited up and upgraded in the future with an all-new title in the Mega Man series with Dual Override, which seems like a possible Mega Man 12 with stylish animation and new moves and powers. I'm sure it'll be appeal to the fans old and young as we see the series when the game releases some point in 2027 as well. Then a title that I was surprised to reveal was with a third game in the popular Forest series. It has a focus of being trapped on a weird alien planet of strange creatures and monsters roaming about, which is a lot more different to the focus of surviving on an island of dangerous natives and cannibals, but looks like it could have some appeal of scenery setting when the title releases sometime in the near future. And then the last of titles I want to give a focus on is the announcement was actually the last game that was shown at the event, and it's a case that it's always been seen that the last game is supposed to be like the biggest and most exciting one of all, like it was last year with the Okami sequel announcement or the Intergalactic game. I think it was either one, but it seems like the last one available at this event was a title known as Highguard, a new PvP shooter that with elements of powerful weapons and animal powers, and will be set for release for free in late January. Now this one was seen as very disappointing to end on when it could have been shown some other big titles in the event. It's a strong showing there, as many were disappointed. And in this case, I thought it was actually going to unveil Elder Scrolls 6 after 8 fucking years after all this time, but I guess we'll see what the fares will release next month and see how it goes about. Now, while not every title unveiled with the event was like a banger or kind of appealed to me, like the case of like a new Ace Combat game, Diablo 4 expansion, and others in focus as well, it's a case that I mentioned that while not as strong reveals as last year's Game Awards, I see the effort put into these projects and hope for these to be good, and hope as well that a lot of the new next award show that we get a bit more of a fair balance for award nominations instead of a one game sweep, but I guess we'll see in a year's time. But what do you think of these year's Game Awards? Do you feel some other games should have won some awards for different categories, and is there any game shows or announced that this event you were most excited for? Let me know down in the comments. We can discuss all about them there, of course. As for the final news story for the weeks, we're delving into the usual array of some media roundup hodgepodge that will consist of discussions or release dates for some upcoming projects, confirmed and rumored castings, and some reports about some company choices or plans that are a lot to juggle at once, but we'll delve into them when we possibly can. So let's get into it. So we start off with a focus on the casting news side of things first, and we start with a sense of a confirmation. And it really seems to be there's a lot of focus and news relating to this game series, as we have another story focusing on Tomb Raider, with a new casting edition for the live action series that stars Sophie Turner as Laura, and the series being developed or written by Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Then a new casting report earlier this week is with Alien and Avatar star Sigourney Weaver in a role that is currently unknown, but in case I can see as a form of a mentor for Laura, a past family member, or the main antagonist for the first season or something like that, but it is unknown at the point in time. Personally, It's not a bad casting, as she's a solid actress and I can see her fitting well in this series in some capacity. Now at the moment, of course, we have no set date for this series or anything else to be joining yet, but once I do anything else, I'll provide that in a later episode, of course. So this next one is just kind of a rumor, but I really question if it's really worth it being real and just a bit pointless. But according to some sources, or by actor Vin Diesel, apparently world famous footballer Ronaldo is rumored to play a role in the last of the Fast and Furious movies, and I've written a role for him in the project. Now, this is one I question if this is really a necessary role in general or just an annoyance, because honestly, why add him in the last film of all this? Plus, with the case of the whole drama and ordeal of the last movie may not even happen due to some wanting to reduce budgets on the last film because Fast X went way over budget and the last 3 films haven't been profitable. It seems Diesel is not listening to the issues as the producer of these last few films, and also he's talking about working on a sequel to Riddick, The Last Witch Hunter, and making a film based on Rock'em Sock'em robots, but who knows. Now, I have no idea if this will ever still happen, but if it does happen, I'll provide a later episode. The last casting story is one that I would be confused in the basis of how does this work in the timeline sort of thing, but maybe in the end there's some sort of cameo. But it was announced on Thursday or Friday this week that both Josh Hutcherson and Jennifer Lawrence are reported to be back in the upcoming Hunger Games film of Sunrise on the Reaping. This will be a confusing aspect. It is going to be the timeline of the series. Sunrise on the Reaping is set 24 years before the events of the original film and book, and given the case of the series, both would not be born when this film takes place, as around the first novel they were around 16 or 17. So I wonder how this appearance will work. Unless it's like a kind of flash forward to the end of the series, or Haymitch is telling the story to their kids or something, but it's really kind of unclear. I'm sure we will get an idea of what is expected from this film, but I'm sure it will be cleared up by the release some point in November of next year in this regards. And then moving on to recent confirmations, the first of these is with a follow-up on a project that had a surprise appeal from the first season of this project. But it was announced earlier this week that the second season of the popular series based on the character of Ted has now been confirmed, with release set for March 5th of next year. Now, it's a case I was a little mixed on the project at first when it first came out or heard about it, but I gave it a watch and honestly, it's actually very enjoyable. In all sense of things, I would be totally down for another season of this if it's like the first in its story, its heart, and its humor. But I guess we'll find out in due time in that capacity. Either way, I'm all interested to see the outcome of this new season, which release come next March. Speaking of another project that is given an early year release, we have the second date announcement, and one I missed from the previous week, but it looks like we will be donning the well-tailored suits and the flat caps real soon once again, as was announced that the new film based on the popular series of Peaky Blinders, with the new title of The Mortal Man, has garnered a release date, with the film getting a limited cinema release from the 6th of March and then dropping properly onto Netflix from the 20th of March next year, which just seems like it was well worth an experience. Now, in this case, like I mentioned before from other big film projects from this streamer, from Frankenstein and Wake Up Dead Man, I do hope with anything that this film will have more of an option to see in more cinemas than the last 2 limited releases, but either way, I will be interested to see the appeal and if it will still have the charm the series always had by its release next March next year, but I guess we'll see in due time in that capacity. Now, this last story is one that's a collection of stories in the focus about studio ordeals, but mainly in the basis towards the thing I'm really against, which is AI. But before we do that, there's one small update on the whole WB merger. As I mentioned briefly last week in that Training Day episode, I talked on Netflix winning the bidding war for WB for $82 billion, and at the mention of the largest rival of Paramount looking to counter that. Well, on Monday, they supposedly did a hostile takeover, getting more of a larger sum of money for the shares for the company and bringing it up to an eye-watering $104 billion to buy Warner Bros. Now, it's not been specified that things being finalized, with either the case of Netflix of making sure it still happens and the theatrical release stuff is still the thing, then the case the reason for Paramount offers being declined is due to WB not wanting foreign money, which Paramount has garnered help from the funds from the Saudi Arabia and from the president, and still seems to be that approach and wanting to control to kick out all those against the leadership of that country and give the outlets of WB a more propaganda-based outcome. Now, that's all it's been given us this week, but I'm sure it's not the end of this ordeal, and we'll probably update later on in the future of Kings, but yeah, let's get to the AI stories. Now, on the basis of AI stuff, this is given a bit of a slap to the face for many creatives, as the studio of Disney has penned $1 billion deal for some program that focuses on the use of AI, and it really seems scummy in that nature. The reason for this is that it seems the studio is known for millions of artists that work on the animated titles and live action stuff, and other studios owned by the House of Mouse will be overlooked by these programs that are a dangerous effect on the planet and are not that functional at all. It's not perfect. Plus, this also is a bit of a slap to the face for those strikes that occurred 2 years ago for the writers and actors, where they were striking about being paid better, as well as going against AI taking over their careers when it's a dangerous aspect to their livelihoods. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the big studios that were all set set to go to court with some of these AI companies for blatant copyright infringement on their own IPs. So what's kind of happening here? Now, this is also the case of not the only studio that has emphasized they will be using AI, but the other studio, in this case was with Arm Animation, has made a focus that they will be using it very sparingly and will always be sticking with their classic values of projects being done in claymation, which I fully respect that. They use it when like touch-ups, but not over-reliant on it. Now, this ordeal of Disney not listening is a damn mess, and I hope they can reverse course or drop it, because AI is something that will not work for the film, but much I guess we'll have to see what will come of all this in due time. But in this regards, what do you think of these stories? Who do you see Sigourney playing in the Tomb Raider series? Does Ronaldo make sense for Fast 11? How will the two lead to the original saga of Hunger Games make a return? Are you excited for a second season of Ted? And what do you think of the films in the first season? Will you be watching the Peaky Blinders film in cinemas or wait until Netflix? And what are your thoughts on all of this studio nonsense? Let me know what you think down below, and with all that regards, that's all the news stories that we have for this week. And in case with all of this now, that ends 134 episode of Weird Mind Newsroom, and I hope you enjoyed these ramblings for probably a fair bit of time this week. There was a lot to discuss, but in this case of things, we're going to get into actually talking what's coming out on the channel. So we're going to start on the basis with reviews. So in the case, since I'm going to try and do a few write-ups maybe this week, the last week has just been hectic with trying to sort out the Game Award one and then the just other bits and pieces that I'm trying to get all sorted out. So hopefully I'm trying to get some time maybe near the end of the week, as well as a case of working on another project, because if you know this series, like the last 2 years, the Weird Mind I do before Christmas is always in rhyme, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to work at rhyming of all these different projects, so that'll probably start this week. But yeah, in case reviews of like Last of Us Season 1 and 2, the likes of Hazbin Hotel Season 2, Wake Up Dead Man, Running Man, Predator Badlands, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and a few other projects and all this stuff are gonna come along as well, different variations of lengths and genres, as well as a case of selection of the snack size box office ones will be coming along eventually as well, so look forward to those. I apologize I haven't done a lot of reviews this year. I've just been kind of like busy and a lot of stuff going on, and I'm not good mentally in the case of things that, like, you know, this helps a bit, but I'm not gonna get into it. Maybe I'll do a video talking about my personal struggles kind of thing, just to kind of regard things. But I'm in the case gameplay wise, I'm gonna have to try and find some time this week to also do some gameplay recordings. We'll see a case as well, because Christmas is next week, so we might just see what other games I have as well, and maybe play some other ones. So I'll probably get to Claire Obscura in some capacity, and some other big game winners for this year. I'll get back to Donkey Kong, get to Mario Wonder, I'll get to Cyberpunk, get to Star Wars, get a few other new games that came out this year. But yeah, so if you look forward to those kind of things, they'll be coming along eventually, so keep an eye on those. Then in case of long form stuff, as you've seen the case, if you haven't seen it yet, my Game Award predictions are there. I'm pretty sure I got like a good majority of them right. I got about at least 2/3 of them accurate, I think. I'm not 100% sure, I have to go look through it, but yeah, it's kind of in case you want to check out which ones I got right, you can see the link down below or the annotation above kind of thing. But yeah, then in the case of other stuff like the rewatch-a-thon, the AI audience choice video I'm going to talk about, and the other bits and pieces, well, the time-lapse video, which I'll hopefully have this week, they're all coming along as well, so look forward to those. I'll probably have them out in a couple days or by the end of this year, but we'll see. But in this regards now, I think I'm going to leave the episode there for now, and I think by the time this episode goes out, this should be my 250th episode video on my channel, which is quite a thing. But in this regards, if you'd like to see here, want to see more from me and more frequently, then simply like and subscribe. So I've stuff every single week. My goal for the end of this year is 500 subs, and as of recording, I think I'm at 493, so I'm only 7 off. So if you can help me reach 500 subs by the Christmas episode next week, I'll be ever so grateful. It'll be a nice festive present. And I'll try and do something for 500 subs, I'll figure something out. In the case as well, let me know your thoughts and everything discussed this week down below, as well as in case you can give me decisions of what I can do for 500 subs, as with case opinions on all the new releases, all the trailers, and all the news stories that we have this week, and give your thoughts and everything discussed, and let me know in the comments, and I'll try and conversate with all of you when I can. Also, in case if you want to have a snag of something nice for Christmas, in case, for instance, with 10% off discount, you can use my code SamHarrison for 10% off on Pure Crack. In case, since it might arrive by Christmas, I'm sure. In case if you're in Ireland, you probably will. Internationally, I'm not 100% sure, but let them sort it out. But yeah, that's basically all I have for the moment, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. As always, you all stay being wonderful people. Have a great day every day, doing great things, keeping you because no one else you do. And of course, take care of yourself, because it's very important, especially the mental health time of year, because you know, you don't know who's struggling, in the kind of case, you know, even a simple conversation can really boost some people's morals. But anyways, I love all y'all. I've been your host, Sam. I shall see you all in the next rhyming episode next week, but the next episode or in next video. So take care, and I'll still see you later.